Everyone says the Gurdon light is searching for its missing head. That isn't what I saw. The way it moved, the way it leaned close, the way it followed when we tried to leave. It wasn't looking for its head anymore. It was looking for a replacement. This happened on January 3rd, 2026, along the abandoned railroad line outside Gurdon, Arkansas. You can find the place easily. Locals will tell you, don't go, but they'll also give you directions. That's how you know the legend is real. People don't hide it. They just don't want responsibility if you come back different. The story they tell is simple and ugly. A railroad worker, sometimes called William McLean, was killed on these tracks almost a century ago. Some say he was murdered by a coworker. Some say he fell under a train. All the versions agree on one detail. His head didn't stay with his body. The lantern wasn't recovered either. The light stayed. We reached the trail entrance around 9:00 p.m. The woods out there don't feel empty. They feel occupied by something that doesn't need to move to be present. The cold doesn't blow. It rests against your skin like a hand that's not supposed to be there anymore. There are no rails now, just the long scar where they used to be. There's something worse about that. A path meant for motion where nothing moves anymore except what isn't supposed to. We turned off our flashlights. That's the rule everyone repeats. You don't see the Gurdon light by trying to force light onto it. You see it when you let the dark introduce you. The night changed texture. It stopped being background and became a thing in front of us. You know the difference when darkness feels like something you're inside of versus something you're standing in front of. That's when the light appeared, not as a flash, not as a beam, as a decision. It formed at chest height far down the track bed. No source, no spill, no shadow. Just a free, floating glow that couldn't decide what color it wanted to be. It shifted between pale orange, sickly green, and thin, cold white, like it was trying on faces and discarding them. It bobbed up, up, down, exactly like a lantern carried in the hand of someone walking slowly and carefully through the dark. I told myself it was headlights refracted through humidity. My brain wanted that so badly it hurt. Then it drifted sideways, between trees that should have broken the light, without illuminating anything around it. Not branches, not bark, not the ground. Light that doesn't touch the world is not physics, it's memory. I lifted my phone to record. The glow immediately dimmed, like it was responding to the intent behind my movement rather than the movement itself. When I lowered my arm, it brightened again. It wasn't reacting to noise. It was reacting to attention. We walked toward it, not bravado, not stupidity. Curiosity is a leash you put on yourself. The light stopped. It hovered at the height where a man's chest would be. It didn't flicker from wind because there wasn't any. It pulsed faintly, like breath from lungs that didn't need air anymore. That was when I stopped feeling afraid first. I felt sorry for it. Something about the way it rocked softly in place made it look tired. Not temporarily tired, decades tired, worn out from doing the same motion long after anyone remembered why it had started. I whispered, "We see you." It brightened, sharp, immediate. The way a person's face changes when they realize they aren't alone. Then it did something no science article prepares you for. It rose, slowly, until it hung at the exact height where a face should be. It paused there in front of us like it was testing the position, like someone tilting a mirror to see whether the angle was right. Then it lowered again to chest height, then rose, then dropped, over and over, not searching for a head, practicing where one would go. The legend says headless. The light behaved like it knew that word and hated it. The forest around us went dead silent, not empty but deliberate, like the living world had stepped politely aside to make space for something older. The light began to come toward us, not floating, walking. There is a difference you feel in your bones. The distance between each bob told you how long the stride was. The rhythm wasn't random. It was human gait reproduced perfectly, minus the sound. No footfalls, just presence closing the distance. My chest felt compressed, like something behind me had wrapped both arms around my ribs and wanted to see how tightly they fit. My brain, without permission, filled in shapes around the light, shoulders, torso, and absence where a head should have been. Absence is worse than a face. A face can make sense. The light stopped just a few steps away. Too close for comfort, too close for metaphor. It tilted slightly, as if leaning forward to examine us individually, like a foreman checking workers, counting heads and discovering the missing one too late. I said, "We're sorry." The light leaned farther. Light should not be able to lean. It wasn't acting like illumination. It was acting like a body. For one terrible second, the glow thinned, and behind it, darker than the dark around it, I saw the outline of a man's shoulders, hunched from labor. The suggestion of hands still curled around something that wasn't there anymore, and above the shoulders nothing. Not blurred, not invisible, just not included. The lantern rose back toward face height. It hovered there, inches from mine, as if measuring me, weighing me, asking a question without a mouth to form it. I knew what it wanted then, not revenge, not fear, continuation. Things that work too long forget how to stop. We didn't run, not because we were brave, but because running would have admitted that what stood in front of us could chase. This didn't feel like a chase. It felt like a job interview. The light drifted slowly past us, brushing my sleeve without touching it, without being solid, without not being solid either. My arm went numb and then cold inside, like something had checked the fit and decided against it for now. It moved into the trees and resumed its back and forth motion, searching. Always that same tired rhythm, up, down, like someone still calling a name they can't remember how to pronounce anymore. When it faded, it didn't blink out. It withdrew, as if depth exists differently for it than for us. When sound returned, insects, distant traffic, something alive again, it felt rude, too loud for a place that had just shown us how quiet the past can be when it refuses to leave. Back at the car, my phone buzzed. A new video waited. I hadn't opened the camera. The footage showed my back, standing on the railroad bed, my shoulders rigid, my head turned slightly as if listening for instructions. Behind me, inches from where my face should have been if I had turned around, the light hovered at head height, then slowly lowered itself to my chest, then raised itself again, trying me on. The clip cut off before I turned. There are scientific explanations for the Gurdon light, piezoelectric quartz, gas, refracted headlights. Every article ends the same way: behavior unexplained. Behavior is the wrong word, unless you believe behavior belongs to the living. After January 3, I don't think the Gurdon light is looking for its missing head anymore. I think it's accepting applications. Some legends don't follow you home. Some wait to see if you'll stay. Some wait to see if you fit. If that lantern lifted to your face, would you let it measure you or refuse it? The worst part wasn't that something was under the bridge. The worst part was realizing it already knew my name. This happened on January 4, 2026 at the Colchester Overpass in Fairfax County, Virginia, what everyone online calls Bunny Man Bridge. If you've ever searched, don't go here after midnight. You've seen it, a concrete tunnel in the woods where light doesn't stay long and legends don't retire. I wasn't there because I'm brave. I was there because my friends laughed when I said I didn't want to go. The legend is simple and awful. An escaped inmate in 1970, sometimes named Douglas Griffin, a man in a white suit, rabbit ears sewn on, who attacked people with an axe. Police reports really do exist of a man throwing hatchets at cars around that time. That's the part that keeps the story from being just a campfire tale. The rest of it, the rabbits hanging from trees, the man standing under the bridge at midnight, waiting, that's the part TikTok loves. At 11:30 p.m., we turned off the main road and followed the winding dark toward the overpass. Woods on both sides, no houses, no traffic, just our headlights grabbing tree trunks and letting go. My friends joked, like people do when they're scared and need noise. I didn't joke. The closer we got, the quieter the inside of my head became, like my thoughts were stepping carefully now too. The bridge doesn't look like a movie set. It looks ordinary in the worst possible way. Short concrete tunnel, narrow road, graffiti layered like history no one got graded for. But the darkness inside it isn't like regular darkness. It has boundaries. It feels owned. We parked a little up the road and killed the engine. Silence in the woods isn't empty. It's full of things that don't care that you're there. At 12 a.m., we stood at the mouth of the tunnel. The air under it was colder than the air outside. Not wind, just absence. One of my friends clapped to see the echo bounce. The echo didn't bounce normally. It didn't come back right away. It came back late, like someone else caught it first. I told them I'd stay near the entrance. They called me boring. They walked deeper into the tunnel, phones out, camera lights off to make it authentic. I stayed where I could still see sky behind me and darkness ahead. That's when I saw the first wrong thing. Not a man, not a rabbit suit, just a shape where light should have been. The opposite wall of the tunnel was visible in thin moonlight, but a new patch of darkness arrived that didn't belong to any of us. Tall, narrow, like a person standing perfectly still with their arms at their sides. I blinked. It didn't go away. I said, too quickly, guys, we're done. They thought I was messing with them and laughed, and the shape leaned, not forward, toward me. There was no sound, just the feeling of being chosen out of a lineup I didn't sign up for. I took one step back toward the open road. Gravel cracked too loudly under my shoe. The shape in the tunnel took that personally. It stretched across the wall, longer than it should have, like shadows only do when they're attached to something that isn't obeying the same light as you. Then something scraped somewhere deeper under the bridge, metal on stone. Not fast, not violent, just deliberate. I said my friends' names the way people say them when jokes are over. We backed out into open air like swimmers reaching shallow water. No figure followed us out. That made it worse. We decided, because people are idiots, to drive through it once, just to say we did. Proof for conversations, internet comments, replies to people who call stories fake. The inside of the tunnel feels longer from behind a steering wheel. Sound changes there. The car noise slides away from you, like something else is absorbing part of it. The headlights don't reach far. The darkness ahead seems to understand how long you're going to be in it and acts accordingly. Right before we exited, something hit the roof, not a branch. Heavier, metal against metal. My friend floored it. We burst into open air and stopped farther up the road. Everyone talked at once. Nobody wanted to get out and check the roof. When we finally did, there was nothing there. No dent, no mark, just the idea of force still living inside our ears. Everyone wanted to leave except me, and it wasn't courage that kept me there. It was the overwhelming, skin-deep certainty that if I left without looking back, whatever was under that bridge would follow the idea of me home. So I went back alone. No friends talking, no car noise. Just me and winter air in the tunnel that had learned my shape. At 2 a.m., I stood where concrete mouth met forest dark and listened. The woods weren't quiet anymore. Branches shifted without wind. Leaves crackled once, then stopped. Something paced slowly on gravel you couldn't see. I thought, stupidly, that saying the truth out loud would help. I said, "I know you're not real." That's when the laugh happened. Not out loud, inside. The kind of laugh that doesn't need sound because it uses your own thoughts. Not joy, not humor, recognition. The shadow returned without fanfare. Simply was there again, a darker abscess inside the dark, a long shape with the outline of shoulders that didn't sag from gravity but from history. And then I finally saw white, not clean white, dirty, damp white, the color of old cloth that's been rained on too many times. A suggestion of an ear shape, bent slightly wrong, sticking up from one side of the silhouette, no face, just attention. At 300 a.m., I learned why people talk about axes even when they never saw one. The sound came from deep under the bridge, a slow, dragging scrape across stone, followed by a soft, decisive tap, scrape, tap.
Paused like a question. I didn't scream.
I didn't run. I did what real people do when they are terrified. I apologized. "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it without understanding why. The shadow shifted, not closer, clearer. My vision filled in things my mind begged me not to. The impression of someone once human who had been talked about too long, filmed too often, turned into a mask by people who wanted a story more than they wanted the truth of the person living inside it. Urban legends don't die. They just get tired of being lied about. Something brushed my sleeve, not grabbed, not scratched, touched, the way someone checks if you're really there. My legs tried to leave without consulting me. I backed away until my spine found my car. The trees on both sides of the bridge felt full, like the past watched from every branch. The last thing I heard wasn't a voice. It was footsteps behind me on the road, slow, bare, weight measured like the walker was listening to the sound they made. I turned around too fast. Nothing was there, but gravel still rolled itself back into place where something had stood. At that point, belief wasn't a decision anymore. It was a condition. We left, not like fleeing characters in a horror movie, but like people leaving a funeral early because they suddenly realized they're not guests. On the drive back, no one spoke for a while. Eventually someone said, "There's no way that was real." Nobody agreed with him out loud. I didn't check my phone until hours later, when I was home and sunlight had reduced the experience to almost story. There was a new video in my gallery. I hadn't taken it. It showed me standing at the tunnel entrance, back toward the camera, shoulders stiff. Behind me, just inside the darkness, there was a tall shape in filthy white, ears rising from its head in a way that shouldn't it exist outside of costume shops and nightmares about childhood things that learn teeth. The video cut off when I turned around. There was nobody behind me. There never is until after. Here's what I believe now after January 4 Hal. Bunnyman Bridge doesn't care whether the legend is perfectly accurate. It doesn't care about which parts were reports and which were embellishments. It cares about attention. It cares about midnight and about people who say, "I don't believe," while driving into the one place where belief isn't required. Some stories don't wait for Halloween. Some stories go out walking on roads after 300 a.m., wearing the wrong shape and the wrong century like clothing, listening for the sound of their own names, whether we meant to give them one or not. And if you go there and stand under that tunnel long enough, you will understand why some things are told in whispers, not because they're fragile, but because they're listening. Been to Bunny Man Bridge recently. Tell me what waited under the tunnel for you. The first sign that the room wasn't empty wasn't a sound. It was the feeling that someone else had already been thinking in there, and I had walked into the middle of it. This happened on January 3rd, 2026, at the Drury Plaza Hotel on the Riverwalk in San Antonio, Texas. I wasn't ghost hunting. I wasn't looking for an experience. I just needed a room near the convention center and a few hours of sleep, that's all. The room looked normal. Tall windows, thick curtains, neutral carpet, TV already tuned to the hotel welcome channel. Everything was exactly the bland, comfortable shape it was supposed to be. But the air didn't feel unused. It felt like the end of a conversation. The first thing that happened was small. At 12:30 a.m., the entryway light didn't flicker. It pulsed. One slow, deliberate dim, down and bright up, like acknowledgement. I stood still, waiting for it to happen again. It didn't. I told myself motion sensor, bad wiring, old building. I turned off the TV. The black screen acted like a mirror showing the bed, the curtains, my shoulders. Only my reflection didn't quite match me. My head turned a fraction late, just slightly out of sync, like a video call glitch. I made a joke to myself because silence was worse. Jet lag. Congratulations, brain. The room didn't answer. It didn't threaten me either. It just waited. Waiting is always worse. I left the curtains half open. Full darkness suddenly felt like permission. Outside, the Riverwalk sounds faded the way city sounds doe laughter, less laughter, than the kind of quiet that isn't quiet at all, just distance. I woke up because someone else in the room didn't want me asleep. Nothing touched me. Nobody spoke. I just snapped awake into the certainty of another presence. Not imagination, proximity. That elevator, too crowded space where one person stands too close. The thermostat glowed faintly on the wall. The number on it was dropping without me touching anything. At 2 a.m., my breath fogged lightly in front of my face. Texas hotels don't do that kind of cold by accident. The corner near the closet stopped being shadows and started being occupied space. The darkness had thickness to it. If darkness could lean forward, it did, and the TV screen, still off, reflected that corner. In the reflection, the darkness had shoulders. I didn't turn on the lamp. I said very quietly, no, not aggressive, not ritualistic, just refusal. The cold faded the way disappointment fades. Not all at once. The morning after that did what mornings always do after a bad night, lied convincingly. Breakfast trays rolled past. Housekeeping carts rattled. Staff smiled. The Riverwalk sparkled as if history had never hurt anyone here. Daylight pretends it wins. Night knows better. The second night, I closed the door and the feeling landed instantly. Not danger, recognition. The way a dog lifts its head at the sound of the right footsteps. I left the bathroom light on. It didn't change the fact that the dark knew me now. At 3 a.m., I woke to water dripping inside the room, not from the bathroom, not from the ceiling. 3 slow drips, silence. 3 more? The carpet was dry. The ceiling was fine. The sound didn't come from anything physical. It only required me to notice it. The hallway lights outside my door flickered one by one, not all at once, in a line, as if someone walked slowly and the sensors reacted a second too late each time. My door handle shifted, not rattled, not tested, just touched, like knuckles resting on it. I checked the peephole. The hallway was empty in both directions, but the space directly in front of my door wasn't empty. It didn't look wrong because of what was there, but because of what had been erased. The way photos look when a person is badly edited out. I whispered, "Wrong room?" Something leaned against the other side of the door in response, not pushing, listening. The room thickened, the kind of thick that lives inside your lungs. The TV turned itself on. No channel, no sound, just static. Inside that static, darker static gathered into the suggestion of a human shape. Shoulders, head slightly tilted, not lunging, simply aware. I unplugged the TV. It stayed on for one single heartbeat before dying. That heartbeat rewired my definition of fear. The next evening, I promised myself it was all stress. Brains want patterns. Brains get tired. The Alamo is close. History bleeds through walls. Pick your explanation and wear it like armor. The building didn't care about my armor. At 4 a.m., the alarm clock beside the bed turned its digital display off. Not dim, gone. A few seconds later, it came back like an eye-opening. I looked at the black TV screen again. The window reflected there. Something stood where my reflection should have been. It was taller than me, and its posture was wrong. Shoulders forward, as if the weight of something long, remembered, had settled there and never left. It didn't move like a living person. It waited like a place waits. It lifted its arm. I didn't. The curtains shifted even though the AC was off. not wind, movement with decision in it. I didn't scream. I didn't run around the room. I went downstairs calmly, because real life is quiet even when it's terrifying. The night clerk looked at me the way a nurse looks at someone who walked in already holding their X-rays. Not surprised, not curious. Familiar, I said. Something is wrong with my room? She didn't say, what kind of problem are you having? She said, would you like a different floor? Like she had practiced it. She slid a new key card across the counter and added, softly, some guests report shadow activity here. We suggest keeping an open mind. Hotel language for, this place is already known to itself. The new room smelled newer. I left the TV on this time because silence now felt like permission. The curtains didn't close fully. I slept a little. When I woke again, nothing was happening, which was worse than anything happening, because I knew, without turning, that someone stood directly behind the chair I sat in, close enough that my shoulder blades felt heavy. I didn't turn around. I watched only the reflection on the TV screen. The outline was inches behind me, closer than before. Patient, listening, I said quietly, I don't live here. I'm leaving. It didn't disappear. It softened, like whatever held itself together had to work at letting go. The room warmed slowly. Morning arrived like it wasn't entirely sure it was allowed. At checkout, nobody pretended anything was normal. The employee looked at my room number, then at me, and said, a lot of stays end early here. Old ground remembers. Outside, the Riverwalk played daylight like a song. Ducks, boats, photos, music over water. People will sleep just fine tonight. The city lets them, but glass remembers. Screens remember. Rooms remember. And whatever walks the Drury Plaza at night doesn't chase or scream or throw things. It doesn't act like a monster at all. It simply stands where you should be standing, waits for you to blink, and learns how long your reflection takes to follow. Not loud, not cinematic, just patient enough to outlast the living. If your TV ever goes black there, look carefully. Make sure the person in the screen is you. Stayed recently? Check reflections. Tell me who stood where you should be.